Welcome to Horns Up. I'm Animesh,
And I'm Peter.
and we're spinning Wickfield as it's a late Saturday night as we record this episode. Fuck, what a reference. Our babies for this chat are 3/5 of Bombay, our hometown based doom sludge metal band Dirge. Welcome,
Sup, guys?
Hi.
I'm
What's up?
so
What's
glad
up?
to be here. Like,
Fucking
finally.
awesome. Yes,
Definitely.
I'm
finally.
so glad
Oh
to
my
be here.
God.
Finally, Peter.
Oh my God.
I mean-
All right. We hear a bunch of voices, but apart from Peter and I at the moment, none of our listeners, I'm assuming, would identify those voices, or maybe some of them do. In any case, let's do a round of introductions, one by one, maybe in alphabetical order. Introduce yourselves and the role you play in Dirge.
Hi guys, I'm Ashish and I play guitars in Dirge.
Hey, I'm Harshad. I play bass guitar.
I am Tabish and I am the vocalist of Dirge.
Superb. Awesome. Well done, guys. Now everybody recognizes whose voice is whose.
Yay.
Yay.
And we all remember our alphabets. But all jokes aside, this is a long time coming. And I think every time I see Tavish, I'm like, album kidhar hai? Where's the album? So I'm glad we're finally getting time out and doing this. So congratulations on, your second full-length album, which is a self-titled album. And like I said, it's been in the works for a while.
Yeah.
So initial thoughts, how does it feel now that the album is finally out and released and in the world and in everyone's ear holes if they wanted to be?
Yeah, I think we started working on it right after completing the first album. I mean, musically, when the first album was done, we were like, what do we do now? Let's start writing some new music. And so it's been like, 4 years now. And
Yeah.
it was
Ah Puch
supposed to...
released
Yeah,
2018.
2018,
right?
late October 2018. So yeah, so it's been 4 years. We've been writing music, but then 2020 we finished it, and we were going to record it in 2020. Even we started, in fact, like in Feb 2020, we recorded drums. We just started recording guitars, and then obviously we know what happened, and then we had to take a break. And yeah, I mean, finally it's out, and it feels really amazing, to be honest. And like the songs have grown so much in these last 2 years. Like we've added a lot of layers. The songs have become a lot more bigger, I would say. So, and now that we're playing it live, it's just amazing. Yeah. Like we started connecting back with the songs again.
Okay, so here's a question, especially since you said you worked a lot on it in the last 2 years and the songs have grown. With any creative process, frankly, it's only the deadlines that ends up stopping work on a creative process, right? Like if we all really wanted to, we'd be working on our very first song still,
Yeah.
or very first whatever still. What made you guys say that, okay, this is done, we need to release it? Ye khatam hua hai ab no longer work on it.
I think we were at that stage pre-COVID already, and we had all started recording bass tracks. And I remember bringing all my equipment to Mumbai to Ah Puch's place, and I think we took a break for a day, and then after that just couldn't come back at all. So, but yeah, that extended deadline really helped push us, I think. Right, Ashish?
Yeah, definitely. And also, I mean, honestly, towards the end, it felt like the songs are taking shape, and like, it sounds complete. I mean, even if there was no, post-pandemic, there was no deadline. Like, we were just like, we'll take our
Yeah.
time now. We've waited long enough, so let's just wait till we feel like, okay, this sounds complete now in terms of everything. So even with guitars, we took a lot of days in the studio with Apur when like we were recording a lot of stuff, figuring out a lot of layers that you hear on the album actually recorded in the studio. And like we were just
They were
coming
written
up with parts. Yeah, the parts were written in the studio itself. So like a lot of extra layers that are like on top of the songs. So yeah, it's been an interesting process overall. I would say.
Okay, did you guys ever get tired of listening to
Yeah.
the same riffs or songs over almost a 4-year period?
Yeah, I would say yes.
Not really for me. I would say not
I
really
took
for me.
a break for like
Yeah, I think
yeah, we all took
there
like
were times when
breaks in
I just
between
felt
time.
like
there was some process happening, so we would just
Yeah.
like wait to listen to something new so that the ears wouldn't get tired listening to it again and again. So that really helped.
But for me personally, right, like just me and Varun, like writing the riffs from the initial stage to like now hearing there's been so much that has happened, right? So in the middle, I did honestly get a bit fatigued, like by hearing it again and again and losing the perspective. But then, as Tabby said, like just moving off it for a while and then coming back to it, that really helped. Because since the songs are like quite personal, right? So like just going back, and it's also quite heavy to listen to it again and again. Like it's not like you just put it out in the background and just listen and chill. I feel like I really need to invest like that time to get into that zone. So
Okay. When you're listening to the self-titled album, the one of the first things that hits you is the fact that everything is so seamless and cohesive as a body of work. So the question really is it okay to consider this a concept album of sorts? Do you think it is, or it should be considered a concept album?
I think that's definitely a concept. Harshad, you wanna?
Yeah, it is a concept album, but it's just that last album we were trying to sort of escape through our music. This time we felt like so basically what happened was, after like by the time we finished the first album, we like really like became like really close friends, and like sharing like personal stories with each other. It sort of felt like we want to delve like into that more this time, and bring like a concept or derive a concept out of that, rather than just like trying to think of fictional sort of concepts.
I'm surprised that the album isn't named Rings of Crisis.
That's actually something that came up quite later. Like I think a month before the lyrics, we were like, "What do we call this?" And Harshad was like, "Rings of Crisis." So that
Basically, the whole concept began with a sketch, right? Of like I drew out like concentric circles, and wrote down like concept for each layer. I never thought of naming that concept, but then towards the end, honestly, it was so personal that it didn't really feel like natural to like name it, or like call it anything. Which is why like
also it's
yeah.
sort of funny that me and Harshad, we met like in 2018 at Jimmy's Burger, and we were, I think,
Mm.
having onion rings or something and burgers, and that's where we first talked about the album. Like, okay, what do we do next? Like after Ah Puch, I mean,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's Rings of
The rest
Crisis.
of this, like that whole phrase sort of came to us quite late, like just when we were about to start touring again for the launch.
Interesting. So why choose to name the album Dirge? Or is it that you didn't want to name the album anything and chalo theek hai, self-titled?
No, it actually goes with the concept also, because this is also a very personal album, but at the same time, it's a concept album, but it's a loosely based concept album. So it also goes with the kind of music we were writing at that point of time. And it felt like this does sound like a Dirge, because it's all the four songs go to each other. It all has the same flow. So it also, since it was also very personal to us at that point of time, we felt like we can call this Dirge because it also sounds like that.
Characteristic concept and like music which defines us in terms of the content, music, artwork, everything.
The thing about self-titled whatever's like self-titled albums, EPs, etc., is largely they become like the defining statement as such that the artist or the musician makes.
Sonically and even like lyrically speaking, I feel we arrived at a point where we felt like, okay, this is our sound and this is what we can build up on now gradually. So it felt like something that like a start of something basically. So it felt like giving it like our own self-titled name, and then because it's even influences wise and like it's a great culmination, I feel, of like everything we've listened to in general, like right from shoegaze to, let's say, obviously doom and like post metal and everything that we really ambient music. So in that case, it's like a great start to something new.
I don't think this is like a statement of what Dirge is forever. It's what Dirge is right now.
Right. I'm glad you kind of talked, Arshad, about drawing those circles. Was that something that you shared with Gaurav Basu, aka Acid Toad?
Definitely, we did.
Yeah, because there's so many different details. And I remember actually, this is, please forgive me, Ashish, because I do not remember which gig this is. But this is outside one of these gigs at Antisocial. You were like, hey, do you want to see the artwork? And my initial reaction was like, how the fuck are you guys going to get this printed? Because there was so many various
Yeah.
details in there, right? And that's something I saw on your phone. So what further did you kind of like work with Gaurav on? Because like again, Gaurav's like a total boss at what he does.
Yeah, so Gaurav also like loves working with people who are like this, like who give him like a lot of things to work around, and he can incorporate and do his own takes to it. So even working with Gaurav, when I think Harshad and all of us went on call with, we told him like we are looking for something like this, like concentric circles. This means this thing represents like this part of the album. We had like rough structures of the songs also at that point of time, so that were also sent to Gaurav to like listen to and figure out what can exactly go where, we can have a brief idea, and then he would like share a Pinterest board with like references of what he can put, and then we would have a full conversation over it and go ahead from there.
With Gaurav, he's like extremely receptive of what we are telling him, and the whole thing began with like us sharing the sketch of the concentric rings. We just like told him that each ring represents like a particular emotion, and then we had like many video calls discussing just each ring and parts of it and what should go into it,
Elements, yeah.
and then even like that's where like his talent really like takes it to the another level, where like we are telling him like, so I think I remember telling him for the malignant layer that it has to look like a visual representation of an internal decay. And so like there is no like graphic representation of this, but like that's where like his talent comes in, and like he is able to put it on paper and like shape that into a visual.
Even like the ocean layer, right? It talks about sorrow and grief. So the initial idea was just having the ocean and like different elements in it and representing it in a blue color, since it kind of reflects grief in a way. So even the elements in that, I mean, as Harshit said, he's like really receptive, and we always like share a lot of ideas with one another.
So like particularly for the grief layer, like that the input from him was that it's better that we have a point of view from the bottom to the like looking up, that is like more representative of like in our minds we were just thinking blue, right? Like blue or like water or like depths of water, but then like how to really like bring like that depth through the artwork, that's all him. The thing is that he will work like in such like crazy detail. Like if you like really sit with the artwork, you'll be able to like zoom into it and you will find like these
newer things every time.
Yeah, there's like a lot of East. Like he's put in an acid toad in the artwork too. Like if you are able to
If
spot.
you
Oh,
zoom
no
in.
way.
Yeah, it's right there somewhere.
That's
on
the
right
challenge,
side.
guys.
Yeah, it's mad, like so sometimes even we would go into the artwork and we would be like, oh, there is this also here. Ye dekha hai kya tune?
It's a very fun exercise for us.
Even the jellyfish in the artwork, for me it was very personal because that song was about grief, and for me it kind of represented me and my dad. And just before he passed, we had gone on a Thailand underwater trip, so I wanted like those two elements to be there. So we were like, should we have manta rays or like something like that? And then we finally thought that jellyfish will also fit in that little space, but we presented that. So
With Gaurav is that like he will like make the option and then show it to you, and then we'll have a discussion on whether to change it or not. Like it's not just a discussion. Like when like I think we went through like 4 or 5 different underwater animals just to like finalize on what we are going for that one element.
Thoroughly, absolutely impressed with the amount of detail and comprehensive thought that's gone into this. It's something that personally does come through as such and shines on
Thanks a lot.
the album itself. I think this is a good time to ask you guys to select a song that we can play out for the audience as such to get them to hear Dirge
I think
in
Hollow.
some manner.
Yeah,
Okay.
Hollow.
Hollow. All right. Why Hollow? Why was that the first song that you picked?
I think that's my current favorite. So I thought.
I think it represents what our sound exactly currently is.
Yeah.
Okay. Tabby, how would you introduce it at a gig? Why don't you introduce it for us?
Tabby doesn't talk at gigs.
No, I introduced this as the last song of our album. It is what Dirge currently is right now. And it is a great song. We have a video out for it. So if you go on YouTube and search for Hollow, you will
It's
also
also
find
the
music
last
video
song we
for
wrote,
it.
like
Yeah.
the most recent song.
Yeah,
we wrote.
the
So,
most
yeah,
recent
that's
song
why
we
it's
wrote.
probably.
Yeah. And also, it was, I think, our most defining single of when we released this song for the
Yeah,
album.
even
like
the
before
video,
album.
one of our
Yeah.
friends, Smriti, she worked on it, and I think
Yeah.
she really, really killed it.
Yeah. We'll
All
come
right.
back to that. So, Hollow, it has to be Hollow.
I think it's just because it's the latest thing that we have worked on.
Basically, yeah. Keep it simple.
Here's Hollow.
I was actually in the back of my head, like wishing you guys spoke about Hollow, and I wanted to talk right about it a bit because it's very strange. And Animesh will remember this when we did our initial, albums that we're looking forward to. We talked about Dirge, and at that time, I was very apprehensive about listening to it because of the write up it came along with, right? Because I was like, I need to be in that space to kind of give it the full attention and also be kind of careful, like what kind of emotions or what it would kind of evoke, right? And over multiple listens, I could understand, like, okay, this album really needs that kind of attention. And I think it was 3 or 4 days ago. Those who live in Bombay will know this. There's the transition that you make between the actual metro station and the train station, and it's like easily one of the most densely crowded places. And
Especially in Andheri.
yeah, in Andheri, right? So I'm walking past that and I'm listening to the album, and the opening 10-15 seconds of Hollow hits in. And I'm not going to lie, at one point, I just wanted to stand in the middle of the crowd and do nothing. And that's the kind of effect that the music had. And that was just like the initial 15-20 seconds. And it took like all energy out of me just to kind of make that walk and be like, holy fuck. And that's one of the things about music, right? That you don't realize how it kind of affects in you. Now, whenever I go back, I'll always remember that moment. One thing I love, and for me, honestly, the highlight of the album is Hollow, because now when I go and listen to it live, it'll be something completely different for me. But also just that emotion that it kind of evokes, right? And I think even when you listen to Hollow, and for those who've heard it right now, you can distinctly break it up into two parts. That first part hits you like a ton of bricks, but that second part just like kind of elevates the mood and kind of ends on like a complete different thing.
First of all, thanks a lot, man. Like, honestly, it's quite overwhelming and so nice to hear how it connects with everyone differently, right? And I want to thank this pedal. It's called a looper. So basically, I remember one of the nights I was just like sitting and writing that opening riff, right? Like the first 10-15 seconds that you mentioned. And I just recorded and I was just hearing it for like half an hour and, just coming up with different layers on top. But that's probably like, times when you write music, it really hits you. Like you yourself start like really, you feel like, oh wow, this is something special. So I felt the same way about the opening 15 seconds, I would say. But yeah, about the song having like two distinct parts, I think Harshad, maybe you can.
Yeah. So in the sketch that I spoke about earlier, Hollow, the emotion that we had assigned to Hollow was fear, and then when we got to actually developing the song, we didn't only want to like only evoke fear, but at the same time also wanted to give the listener a feeling of overcoming that, almost like a sense of catharsis. So that is the second part of the song where like we go into sonically, lyrically, everything. Like the song sort of starts off by evoking fear and then having the listener overcome it.
Yeah, like sonically, I feel like the first part is a lot more dense and it's really like I don't know how to explain. But yeah, the second half it just opens up, and at the same time, yeah, I feel like it's interesting how everyone interprets it differently and how has it been.
Yeah, even when we were writing those songs in the jam room, like these guys would like also like write the songs. When we used to like jam there, and we would always think like what would go next. What the riff they already had, they would play, and then I would interpret like what kind of a scream would go with this, and what kind of emotion we want to evoke while you're doing this. So that gave it like patterns, and then we thought like should this end here, and then but we were like, no, this needs to go like a little further than this. So like we would add more layers to it, but still like make it like very open. But
also, I would say like watching Mono live at Roadburn, I think that really changed my life. And like, I think in this song, you can clearly hear that influence, not just like notes wise or something, but just like that feeling of wall of sound that you get when you watch them live. I wanted something really like massive in the outro section, like something really huge. So that was kind of a feeling I was going for also.
Right. Thanks so much for sharing that. Now I know at least you'll have been performing 3 out of the 4 songs of the album live. How did the songs evolve from playing them live to the record? And which one of the 4 songs was actually the starting point for the album?
So the songs were written in the same order actually. Condemned, then Malignant. In that way, we didn't think much. I mean, it somehow also flows pretty well. But yeah, it was written in that order itself. And after playing it live, I think just layers were being added. Like the core structure was still the same. It still is. But when we went into the studio, we were like, because Apurv also came in the picture, right, as a synth player. So we were like, we'll add some synth parts. We'll maybe add a few more parts that could be played live as well. So that way it evolved quite a lot. And it just felt like it needed something in some of those parts in general.
That's one of the things we'll definitely dive furthermore. Apu's role on the album, not just in production, but also on synths. But at which point did you all realize that, because it's 4 songs, a lot of people may think EP is it? But in a way, if you think about it, technically it's an album because it's above 30 minutes. So at which point did you all realize that, these are the 4 songs that are going to be on the album? This is the entire thing. We've got the album here. At which point did you all come to that conclusion?
I think once we I think finished writing Grief, we were like, now we just need to write one more and we are done. So at that point, we already knew we just needed like one more song to complete the album, because we had already went ahead then like 20 minutes when we wrote 2, and when we had finished 3, we were at 30, 31 something. Or 32, and then we were like, to complete the album we just need to go,
and we always had that plan of writing
the
the full length itself. Like it was never a thought that we'll write an EP,
EP,
because I feel like with this genre especially, I mean, it's slow at the end of the day, so it takes time to build up. But I feel like you need, as you mentioned, Peter, like you need to sit in that zone and just consume it entirely, right? And also when we were writing Hollow, the ending, it just felt like, okay, this is the end for the album. Like I don't think we need anything after this. So in that case, yeah, I feel while writing Hollow, we felt like, oh, this is a good ending to the album.
How cathartic were these songs? You mentioned that these songs are personal. Would you like to elaborate?
Extremely. I think each song talks about a particular emotion that we have experienced, like all of us. And but like we are not like trying to just sort of remember it, but to address it in a proper way. Like for example, when in the Grief, right, it talks about like depression, or not even depression, just like a strong feeling of sorrow, which really resonated with Ashish's like Ashish losing his father at a very young age. And like his input even lyrically on that song was quite a lot. I mean, but at the end of the day, it's like we are not just like talking about a certain situation, but we are like addressing it. It's like therapy for us. Like it has been very therapeutic to like write all these songs. Like the first song is about anger, and it talks about everything that makes us angry, but at the same time we have given it a further thought, not really only address it at like a superficial level, but we have really tried to like think over it and like try to like grow from addressing this. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, like definitely it does. As I said, like in the beginning, right? There's this level of authenticity in all these songs and in the overall album that that's probably one of the things that escalates it from just another album within this genre. A listener knows when something is genuine, and over here it is.
Yeah, also like how Harshad mentioned about like particular emotions. At the end of the day, it still can be, even between five of us, it can be quite different how we interpret those songs, right? Like for me personally, I would say depression is like a key thing about the songs, and also like the fourth song for me personally, it's about loneliness and like emptiness. So that's what I personally felt while writing, and still when I play it, those are the kind of emotions I personally go through. So it can be different for everyone, obviously, for the listener, for us.
Yeah, we all interpret like very different emotions with all the songs.
And again, it's like you don't want to force these emotions on anyone, right? Like it's this song is about anger. This is how it should be. Obviously not. I mean, to be honest, Alice in Chains was one of my favorite bands for years, and I didn't know what Lane was talking about. For me, it was a therapy, and like for me, I was going through the loss of some of my family members, and that was what I was relating to the sounds. But as I said, it can be interpreted totally differently by everyone.
So actually, the lyrics are a very small part of the song. Honestly, when you like, there are a lot of parts in the song which are only music, right? And it's sort of like a interpretative language where like there is no like definite meaning to any note or any particular composition. It's what the interpretation that gives it meaning.
Also, I feel like Tabby's vocals are like an instrument itself.
Yeah,
Like I
exactly.
don't think when you listen to the songs, you're like, oh, should I just try and find out what he's saying? Like maybe
Yeah,
you
that's
will.
not
Like if
important.
you like the song, you might want to read the lyrics, right? But I think his like intense
His voice
vocals,
is an
it's more
instrument.
like an instrument that adds another
Yeah.
layer
Layer
on
to
top.
the songs.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, cool. So we wanted to talk production as a process of sorts. Your previous point makes a brilliant segue into what Peter wanted to bring up, because he had a very specific point about the production process, and I have a slightly vague question about it.
That's what I wanted to understand also, right? Like, is that something that you think from the composition part itself, having the vocals as another instrument? Because all of us have grown up listening to like your typical rock and metal productions, right? And you always have it literally, and sorry, Animesh, but it's true, where vocals are on top, then you've got like the guitars, then you've got the drums, and then bass.
If it's audible,
If
then
if it's there,
if you've got speakers, good speakers, then you'll hear them. Otherwise, who the fuck cares?
and Arshad, sorry, but you know it's true, right?
Yeah, no, man. Honestly, I tell you
Yeah.
what. Tell you
In
what.
Harshad's car, you can only hear bass, by the way. There's nothing else. He's just increased the bass to the max. Everything is zero.
Yeah, I need to hear myself because it's fun to like hear myself. But honestly, like what you're saying has like a level of truth to it, where like we don't really think of the like individual instruments to be like individual. It's a complete. When it all comes together is when
The
it
song
forms
happens.
something. Yeah. So it's not really important whether you um, hear the bass or not. It's just like it has to make sense when it's there.
Yeah, like you don't want like 5 minute guitar solos or like 1,000 notes.
Yeah.
And if you can play like 1,000 notes in 20, we don't care about that.
Yeah, vocals wise, it was since it was always an instrument, it always had to make sense to put it in like in the middle where it goes everything with each other. It doesn't need to sit on top. We didn't want to go like the orthodox way of doing it, because we always wanted an album to sound more like a soundscape, just another song.
Do you want to talk about how we come like how we create the vocals for it, like the process of that?
Yeah, so once like the riffs are written, we just like form patterns over it first, like how the vocal should go here.
Yeah,
And
there are
then
no
and over those patterns then come our concept and lyrics that should go with that pattern. So
Yeah,
that
it's more about the
lyrics.
texture.
yeah, it's more about the texture than then like the lyrics and these should fit in like these
You're
lines
almost
and these
using
bars.
like this is very bad association games that I'm playing in my head, but you're almost using the Iron Maiden approach to write, or rather, actually, sorry, the Steve Harris approach to writing songs, which is I'll create the entire song first, then I'll create the melody on top of it, and here you go, guys. Bruce, this is the melody. Make your lyrics. Or just that over here, it's not the melody as much as it's the texture.
Yeah, I think, but it
I
goes
think
like
it's
with
the
it goes with the entirety because we don't like the song like the entire song is written because when we are like all these songs were written in the jam room, okay, like straight up.
I
Like
think the
we weren't
songs
like
got ready musically first, and I
music,
mean
yeah.
each,
yeah,
and then Harshad was writing the lyrics on the side at the same
And
time.
yeah.
Um,
even before I
So
started,
everything was also very cohesive at the same point of time while we were doing
yeah,
this.
even before I started writing the lyrics in the jab room, Tabby would come up with the vocal patterns without the words, and then the words would be added on later.
All right. So here's the vague question I had about production. Was there something that you did or didn't do on Ah Puch that you ended up doing while you were making Dirge? To make that complex thought a bit simpler, the easier way to ask this question is, what have you learned while producing Dirge?
I like that vague question. Nicely done.
Thanks.
Yeah. So after we finished the first album, we were like, man, this needs to be like more massive. So, and by that point of time, we were always like, I think synths would go like great with our music. So that layer was already in our mind while we were writing the music. Abhi was in the band for a while. So, but some of the songs were also like written with, but Abhi obviously joined the band after all the songs were written, but we always wanted like the songs to grow a bit more. So we got Abhi in. Abhi wrote some part for the songs, but like they didn't work out. And then, pandemic happened and like the people moved on their different ways. So after that, once we came back, we still wanted like the synth layers to like be there because that we always knew that these songs need to be elevated a little more higher. So that is where that point of time in these 2 years that we took a break, how we added layers to it, synth layers. Even Ashish came up with like guitar parts. This could like go really well on this. So we always thought like what we have learned from production is definitely give the songs our time to like grow and finally reach a stage where it's just like ready.
Yeah, and like just recording wise, I would say there's so many things that improved on this
Yeah.
album. I mean, first of all, we're really thankful to Prashant for letting us like use his space for the first album. We recorded the entire album in that small jam room, come recording space, everything. A lot of albums have been recorded there.
Peter, have you been to
Yeah.
that room?
I
He
recorded a
hasn't, no?
podcast. I
You recorded
recorded
it?
a
You recorded
podcast in that room with
Really?
you, Tabby.
So yeah,
Have you attended a gig there?
No, thankfully
Wow.
not.
Are you serious?
I'll never forget that gig.
Wasn't that the
Tabby's other band Lafda played their debut gig.
wait? Wasn't that the Riot Peddlers comeback gig? Anyway,
There was one.
That was
This
that
was
was
the one
that
after
too.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the one after
The
that.
Lafda gig was the one after that. Yeah.
But yeah, so, I mean, for this album, we recorded everything in a studio. Like
Yeah.
drums, we recorded in Bangalore before pandemic. Then guitars, we recorded at Blue Cassette, and we had a wide range of amps over there in Blue Cassette. So, Apoorv and us, like, we really spent a lot of time just working on tones and like what kind of sounds would go with those particular sections and stuff like that. So that was totally different with this album. In the first album, we just had one amp and we just had one guitar. Everything was recorded through that. So in that sense, it was quite different, I would say.
I remember having a conversation with Ashish and Varun that where they be like, all of us were like, we really need to level up, and in terms of everything, like, in terms of even like the basic skill set of like playing the instrument, like, and like we had a very serious conversation about this, that we really need to, there has to be growth. Like we really like I think Ashish and Varun thought about sort of evolution from Ah Puch to Dirge quite a bit. I don't know what exactly it is that we learned from the first album, which was improved in that. I can't really put a finger on it, but I remember having a conversation that needs to happen.
I would add another point actually. Having Aryaman in the band, I think that
Oh yeah,
it
definitely.
really helped us a lot in songwriting, I would say,
Yeah.
because it really opened up me and Varun, like just jamming with him and him coming up with ideas on the spot. And Ariman, like he's played with False Flag, he's played with Dead by Fungi, and his
He's
playing is
fucking
just
explosive,
fucking
man.
insane,
Yeah,
dude.
he is
Like
very
the
explosive.
things
Yeah.
he comes up with, it's amazing. So that really helped us in like even writing riffs that Ariman could easily like figure out some interesting parts over it. So I mean that's something we really want to explore even more now, because Ariman came, they joined the band after the second song was written, or like when we were writing the second or third, somewhere around that time.
While we were writing the third song.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
when
So
he
it's
came
still
in.
quite
So,
late, I would say.
but he definitely, we had like a basic structure of the song ready, of the first two songs ready, but he definitely came in like added his own flair to it and made it like something
lot more
insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with Aryaman coming in, I remember the first album we would have like one part, like only one version of each part, and which we tried to record properly. This time around, it was like multiple options for the same part, and then we recorded all of them and then sort of composed it.
Yeah, there are parts in Hollow, by the way, where there are multiple drum layers. So in that whole clean section, Ariman is actually playing like a normal groove, and then we were like, Ariman, can we record another take where you're doing something else on top of it? So like things like these, like we didn't try these things during the first album.
Actually, I'm quite excited to see you all now play all of these songs. But from the last two gigs that I saw you all play last year sometime, all of you, like everything that you all are talking about, is visible live. Whether it's your performances, whether it's the introduction of Ariman. I think like Animesh was at that gig where you all performed the first time with Ariman. And I was like,
Yeah.
dude, what the fuck? Like these guys are at another level, right? And in a place like Bombay, where you want to have those blast beats and heavy and all those parts, it's the other parts that actually where you were like, I mean, for lack of other word, it's just that pull and push literally that you have, right, going in the songs, that ebb and flow. That is what, like, I feel where you'll have really elevated yourselves.
Yeah. Also, I feel like since you're not, I mean, Varun and me, we met in. I used to live in Chinchwad in Pune, right? So we were never like part of a scene in the beginning, like as such.
Yeah.
I mean, Pune, of course, we were like going to gigs and stuff, but we never really were watching bands in Mumbai, let's say college competition. We were like, oh, you know what, I want to sound like Zignima or like any other band, let's say. So we were just hearing our own things and like I mean this is long back, like 10 years ago, but it's been like that since then. We didn't really care about what's happening in the scene or anything. We just wanted to like honestly represent our emotions or something.
Awesome. On that note, let's play another song. We'll only give away half the album on Hornsub, don't worry. Only 2 songs out of 4. Which should that
Guys,
second song
Malignant?
be? I
Yeah.
like how he's always ready with the answer. Generally, it's
I've heard the
these
podcast
questions.
before. I know what's coming.
Well done. Well done.
It can be Malignant or Grief. Both songs are like
Ooh.
Great.
Actually, you choose, man. Animesh, Peter, you guys choose.
Peter's favorite song has already played, and I think Animesh should choose now.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, cool. Well, yeah,
Yes.
I'm picking Grief. That song personally resonated with me too.
Yes.
So yeah,
Let's
good going.
go.
Here it is.
I've actually known you guys for a while. I think Tavish the longest. And since 2014, the Dirge has been around. Dirge has been called like so many different things. Post metal, doom, drone, sludge, psychedelic. I don't know. Some people may listen to some parts of Dirge and say it's even probably funeral doom. How do you guys like to define yourselves?
I mean, I think for everyone it must be different, but I would say it's just atmospheric music. I don't know, like more like soundscape. It's tough to put like one name to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I think
doesn't
we are
really make
post labels.
post label.
Yeah.
Post-label.
But I think right now what this new album represents is definitely in the doom post metal category, and like maybe
But yeah,
a
there's
little bit of
still
sludge.
psychedelic sludge. I don't know.
Psychedelic sludge.
We should
all
try
that.
and come
We-
up with something new.
somebody
Should
on
coin a
YouTube,
new word.
Yeah.
somebody on YouTube
SEO
called
friendly.
it. Somebody on YouTube called it depressive suicidal black metal.
What?
No way.
It is
wait.
I'm not kidding.
So there are quite a few comments on
Go,
YouTube which are saying black
yeah.
metal. I think they've just seen the video thumbnail
Yeah,
or something.
I would like, let's be honest, right? If you watch the Hollow video, which all our listeners, if you haven't already, do, go check it out. And if you watch it on mute, you'll be like, black metal or whatever. But then you add that entire bit. I don't know. I mean, like, but okay, like, I'm going to ask you a very open question. Do you actually care about labels?
I don't. Not
No.
Zero
Not-
interest.
Yeah.
Zero interest. We just
mean,
like heavy. We
It's
just
heavy
like,
music, man.
Yeah, heavy music. Yeah.
Just straight.
It's
up.
music
Just
we like. That's more important to us.
Is it heavy music or is it metal music?
Oh,
I would say heavy
It's a heavy music.
because metal is just metal. Heavy can be even Nick Cave or I don't know.
Another point that I wanted to definitely bring up is you guys have clearly put in the hard work with regards to promotions and PR with this album cycle. How has that helped listenership, and what countries are you getting your listens from?
So currently, I mean, first of all, we wanted this album to reach Europe, US. I mean, there are a lot of people who listen to this kind of music, right? And still, I would say it's an initial stage because the album just came out recently. But I was just checking Spotify, and the maximum streaming has happened in US right now, followed by Helsinki in Finland.
All the
Love to-
TSBM fans.
and then India.
Right.
So we really want to play honestly in Europe. Like
Yeah.
that's something we've been wanting to. Means pre-pandemic. Let's see. I mean, it's not easy, obviously. So let's see how that turns out.
Okay. As a result of all the promotions and PR, that also means you're getting a lot of reviews being written about you.
Yeah.
What are the reviews getting right and what are the reviews getting wrong?
So mostly it's been positive. I mean, there's some funny stuff that also happened. So there's another band called Dirge from France. I mean, they are on
oh,
a
I've
hiatus
seen
now.
this, Ashish. I've seen
Oh, yeah.
this.
So
Go-
I
go for
posted
it.
like Hollow link on Roadburn group, the Facebook group, and I slept off at night. I was like, let's see some comments in the morning or something. And then morning I wake up and there are 5 hate comments on that. Like, how could you name this band Dirge? There's already one Dirge in our hearts, and you can't do this to us. And I'm like, okay. And there was this one guy who was actually like, it doesn't matter, guys. Come on, just check them out. They're really good or something.
But coming back to your questions, what reviews are getting right, what reviews are getting wrong. I think mostly all of them are getting the things right only. I don't think anybody has got it wrong, but just like everybody has had their own interpretation of what the album has done that we are totally cool with. So
I mean, that's how
Yeah.
music will
Good. That's always good to hear. Like, it's very weird when you get the occasional review that completely just doesn't align with.
yeah,
what you wanted the album to
we
be.
have a few reviews where they felt like they
Like
didn't
maybe
like
they heard the French band
like
Dirge instead of instead of
nothing
Dirge.
yeah, no, nothing like that. Just they were like they didn't.
No,
connect
I'm
to the
kidding, but
music enough.
that's what I was trying to mean.
Ah.
Yeah,
Just
like yeah.
if they
Yeah, that's
didn't
totally
connect to
fine,
the music,
man.
but that we are absolutely okay with. Like they didn't connect to the music we wrote, and that is
I mean,
absolutely
at the end of the day, it's a review, man. There's no right or wrong about
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Sometimes there are
And
wrongs about
honestly,
it.
we don't even like we love people coming to watch us play and stuff, but we've played to like 2 people also. Like I remember this Hyderabad gig
Oh, yeah.
in 2016. We played to 2 people. One of them was Abbas, and it was just that. And but I've seen us our videos, and we were just like having a great time.
Yeah, that
Just
was
really
such a fun.
enjoying. So
I think we had played Acid Bath, that
yeah,
covered Acid Bath at that time.
yeah. It's been a while, man. I think we have come a long way. It's great.
You know what? One thing we have to say is Abbas is still standing after all those years.
Definitely.
He's still keeping the flag of metal going.
yeah,
in.
Always
sure.
there. Always there.
Sure. Amazing guy.
And for all of those who are tuned in, because I think we've whet the appetites enough, especially those in India. So when can they see you live next? And if you can plug in your upcoming gigs, that'll be great.
So we are playing Hyderabad on 26th March at EXT alongside Man Eating Orchid and
Apophenia.
Apophenia. They're a Hyderabad local band. I'm like, can't wait to check them out. Like it's always good to see like new bands. We also have a Mumbai gig coming up at Antisocial on 16th April, for which we'll release the lineup later.
Oh yeah.
We also have a Pune gig coming up on 30th April,
Which we'll talk about later.
which we'll talk about a little later. And we might also have a Delhi gig somewhere. So
Look, guys,
Hmm.
I know we've been talking for close to an hour, but what have we missed out? I think this is the right time to address that. Is there any aspect we missed out on?
we have missed out on Apurv.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah,
Like,
we have missed
in
out
general,
on
the
Apurv.
role of Kapoor.
Even like other
this
like the people who worked on the album. Basically,
Everybody who has worked
Apoor,
on this album.
Anusha, Smriti, Sanford, Brad. I mean,
Yeah,
we couldn't
everybody.
have done it without them.
Without them, it's just like
So
mad
maybe
how
we can
much-
talk a little about each of them.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
I think Apoor, I mean, he's one of our closest friends, and yeah, I play in a band with
Definitely.
him. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's
And-
great to have him, and he just it's more than like working with someone. It just feels like hanging out with them, you know, and just like
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that vibe of his, man.
Exactly, dude.
I love his vibe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Apu's great.
So
man.
nice.
Apu's
Yeah.
great, and he's been there from like the first album. Since then only, we have like loved working with like so much. This time, we just wanted him to also have a more important role in writing
This
the
time.
music. That is,
Yeah.
this time.
So once
So
we like
once-
started recording, he had a lot of inputs on
Yeah.
how the
Ah.
guitar tones could be tweaked, or like recording technical stuff, obviously, and even creatively, a lot of things.
Nice. He's very knowledgeable man.
Yeah,
It's
he
like
has a
very
lot of
knowledgeable.
clarity when it comes to the music, like
Yeah.
and he really knows what he's talking about, and he will really push you to get there.
Yeah, he's not one of those guys. He's like, "Chalo, let's take 2 takes and we are done." It's not that kind of
Yeah,
vibe.
he pushes.
Yeah, it's not
He's
that
like,
deep.
He pushes.
I think you're not ready today. Let's record next
Yeah.
time. Like,
Yeah.
let's not do it.
So
So I remember
He's great
Harshad,
like
he came like just before the pandemic, and he was like, "Let's record." And that time we couldn't because he wasn't ready. So we recorded again. So things like that have also happened. So yeah, and then obviously he played some synth also on the album. So that was really interesting. That all came later. Like once the songs were pretty much done, then we were like, okay, what do we do next to like, color it a bit more, or like elevate the songs a bit more. And that's when his synth part. So me, Varun, and him, we sat down and worked on some synth parts. And I mean, he plays amazing, right? Like his synth playing is amazing. So and his ideas, as Harshad said, are very clear. Like the things he talks about.
Yeah, he's a very, very good and well-rounded musician at the end of the day.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Next, I think talk about Sanford. So Sanford mixed the first album also, and for the second album, we were like, yeah, I mean, that was great. The way Ah Puch sounded was amazing, and now that we have recorded even better, like in a studio and stuff, I think he'll do even like better job
Yeah,
of this.
even
So,
better
and that's
job.
what happened. I feel like it took a while because he had a busy schedule and stuff, but we had no hurry at the same time. So But yeah, I think he killed it again on this one.
Yeah, he knocked it out of
Sounds-
a park with this one, man. He just like exactly got things right.
and he's worked with some of our favorite bands, so he knows that sound. It's not like for
Yeah.
someone for us to tell them, oh, it should
This
sound
is what we
this.
wanted
Yeah.
to sound like.
We didn't
or
have to give
explain
him
how.
like
We didn't have to give him
exact
like
references or
So,
so.
sorry to break the flow,
Yeah.
but I'm very curious. What was the waiting time for Stanford? Because
See,
I'm pretty sure, like,
Normally, it's like a couple of months. Like we'll send it to him, and
no, but I'm saying, what was
as a
the
waiting
backlog?
time. Okay.
The backlog
Ah.
with the amount of music that was recorded.
7 months.
Fuck.
So he was
7 months.
also working on a horror
Yeah.
movie soundtrack that
Yeah.
he was really busy with, and obviously he had other mixing projects also.
Mixing projects also. Then he recorded a band in the middle. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, pandemic was going on, so it was a strange time also
Yeah.
for everyone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. But
I mean,
yeah,
it's
he's a
crazy.
busy guy.
I mean, like, the thing is, I think that's how I initially know of him, right? Is when you read the credits of the CDs, you keep seeing his name, and then you're like, okay, figure out. And I remember when he worked on Ah Puch, I was like, holy fuck, like, this is so cool just to have an Indian band kind of work. And band like yours, of course, right? Like, it's a perfect fit.
I think for
So-
us, since the beginning, when it comes to like sound, artwork, everything, we didn't want any compromises. Like
Yeah.
even if it takes time, and it's not like we have a lot of money or something. I think we just save up for this and take our time. Okay, in 6 months we'll have maybe this money, and let's spend it on mixing and things like that. So we really wanted like the people who get our music to work on it and who are actually good at what they do. Like let's say Sanford.
Yeah. Same with Brad. Brad's a legend.
Yeah.
Brad's like a straight up legend. He's like.
And Brad has worked with a lot of our
Yeah,
friends. Like
yeah.
I think False Flag, then Dead by Fungi, of course.
That back from there
Pacifist.
also. He's done Pacifist also. Just like massive talent. He's won an Oscar. He won an Oscar for the soundtrack.
And he's fast. Like you send him the files, and in a couple of days,
Stranger
it's
Things.
back.
Yeah, and it's like really fast. Sanford's like super fast.
Yeah, so that was amazing. Then obviously Gaurav, we talked about the insane artwork. Anusha did the artwork video, so she basically animated the
Condemned
whole
video that we
the
first
lyric
put out.
video that we did, and even that was a lot of fun to work with because we wanted that artwork to come to life and like the layers moving and basically people getting a dive into the artwork. So I mean, she's really good at what she does, and it was an easy choice for us to. And also, she's a great friend of ours, so it's quite easy.
Yeah,
to
she's been
work
also
with.
like part of the band or like friends for a long time. She has also like seen us grow as people. So she exactly got what we wanted into it.
And it's like actually I want to add that like Smriti and Anusha, right, they are it's not like we were sort of telling them what to do and then they're doing it, but it was more like them having like a very clear input also in what like their skill set, it was not like something that they were just sort of following. Like they were adding like a part of themselves to the work, which we really appreciate, and that is sort of what elevated both the videos too.
Yeah, and with Smriti
Also,
especially, I mean, when we started working on the video, I didn't feel like we'll arrive at such a point where the video looks
exactly.
so amazing, right? And honestly, a lot of times it was like me and her just roaming around forests and like just shooting that stuff, and I was still not imagining what it would look like at the end. And I mean, it was all DIY. Like we just went to like a cloth store and got that costume ready, and it was quite funny because we went to a couple of stores and the people were like, "Hum ye sab nahi banate. We don't make all of this stuff." They were like, "This is a burqa basically." So they were like, "Go to a Muslim tailor shop that they'll make it." And then we went to Muslim tailor shops and they were like, "We don't make this because you're customizing our burqa. This is like an insult for us or something." I mean, that kind of weird stuff. And finally found someone who really made it properly. But yeah, it was like all DIY, like the beach footage we shot at Aksa Beach and like this.
You wouldn't recognize the locations. It is mad.
But
It looks like crazy on screen, right? But
Yeah,
when
yeah,
we
yeah.
were there, but when we
it's
were
RA,
there,
it's Aksa Beach,
uh-huh,
it's
Yeah.
all
like
our areas.
locations
Even-
you wouldn't
even
imagine,
the,
and you all wouldn't imagine how it would look on video. But she already had it in her mind, like how
Yeah.
she would make it look. We were like very surprised with how it looked,
Yeah.
even on camera when we like shot it. We were like, how did you get this out of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
They're
was a
both
lot
like
of fun.
extremely talented, dude.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, and then like
Yeah.
that input is
That-
really seen in the like
That
product.
thing also makes this album like very personal to us, because a lot of our close friends has worked on this and put their own inputs and everything on what we have done. It's like great. We like really appreciate them, all of them.
Also, a shout out to Ankit for waking up at
Oh, yeah.
6 a.m.
Yeah,
to take our
Definitely.
photos in Pune,
yeah,
like the band
Yeah.
photos.
yeah, crazy. Pairing it up with a gig and everything.
Mhm.
It's mad. Drive down from Mumbai like one night before, wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning so that we can get the early light to get the shots and everything. It's just mad. Like, people have been nuts on how they have helped us creating this.
I love the fact that it takes a village to bring out the best. And that's true, actually. It does take a lot of support and it does take a lot of camaraderie and it does take all that effort collectively. I think this is a good time to call it a night for tonight as
Mhm.
such, right? Congratulations, guys, because you clearly have produced something special. And it's not just
Thanks.
special for you guys, but it's special now for most of the listeners out there. At least I can pretty much say safely for Peter and I, it is going to be something that we are going to be listening to quite a lot for quite some time to come. Right, Peter?
Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much for having us.
Really means a lot.
Yeah.
I was like really looking forward to this for a
Yeah.
while.
So I must add my closing thoughts, right? Is the first year that Animesh and I were doing the podcast was 2018.
Yep.
And I remember Animesh and I trading thoughts on our album of the year. Ah Puch was part of
Was
my
on your
top
list,
10.
yeah.
Wow.
And at that point, I was like, fuck, like when a band does that in the first album, like how do they kind of top that off, right? Even though it's been 4 years, I think like you guys have stuck, and looking back, obviously, hindsight is 2020, so it makes sense, everything that's there. And yeah, I mean, I always in my head thought like, no pressure, guys. It was the first album, it was in the top 10. Second album, let's see. But yeah, but I think you guys have knocked it out in the park, and I wish you guys all the best.
Thanks
success.
so much, man.
Thanks a lot.
Seriously,
Thank you
thanks.
so much, guys. Like it was
It was a lot
really
of fun,
good being
honestly.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I mean, we haven't talked about our album so much with
So much with like anybody. So
So it's
this,
really
this
nice.
podcast is going to be like fun for sure.
Yeah, we've been with West Varun and Arya. But yeah,
Yeah.
maybe when
Yeah.
we meet next week.
Exactly. When we
Yeah.
meet next. All those people in Pune who come to watch Dirge, and later on in Bombay, and later on wherever else. Now you know why the songs are the way they are. So hopefully that gives you another layer or more context to enjoy them. And if the podcast did do that for you, then why don't you let us know? Because sometimes we like hearing validation too. We're just human after all. So you can do that by reaching out to us on hornsuppod.com or on Twitter at hornsuppod. I'm on Twitter at Asmohani.
I'm at Trend Crusher.
This was Horns Up.
Hands up.